This video is sponsored by Audiio. Is Davinci Resolve actually any good for beginners? And by beginners, I mean people that are totally new to the whole world of video editing. Now, if you just want a short version, rather than watching all the individual points, it's this. Just want to chop some videos together of your cats? Resolve might not be the place for you, but if you really want to learn video editing, Resolve is pretty great. Now, this topic of conversation actually comes from the Resolve Creators podcast, which I host with the lovely Casey Farris. So we're going weekly with that. We're going audio only. So if you want some half-an-hour chats about this sort of thing, definitely give it a click. The link is down below. So obviously, I'm a little bit biased. I've built my entire channel, my entire career talking about Davinci Resolve, but I'm going to try and put that aside and give you some honest opinions on whether Davinci Resolve is actually any good for beginners. And we're going to start off with the reasons it's not. I've got a couple of reasons against using Davinci Resolve if you are brand new to video editing, and we're going to kick things off with complexity, aka that learning curve. Davinci Resolve is a little bit tricky. There's the media page, the cut page, the edit page, the fusion page, the color page, the failure page, and the deliver page. There's a lot going on and there's a lot to learn. Some of the more consumer level off-the-shelf pieces of software like CapCut or Filmora or Veed or whatever you're looking at are a little bit easier. They're a little bit simpler and they're a bit easier to get to grips with. If you're brand new to the world of video editing, there's a lot to learn. You're probably learning about timelines and frame rates and all these different video editing terms, which are common across all video editing suites. And then with Davinci Resolve, you've also got all of the other stuff that's in Davinci Resolve to learn as well. So you're kind of learning two loads of new complicated things, and that can make the entire process a little bit more complicated. Next up, hidden stuff. Very similar note to the previous thing, Resolve does sometimes feel like it was a color grading package, which it originally was, and then they added editing on top. And sometimes it kind of feels like that. There are some things which should be obvious and aren't, and there's other things which are hidden away, and they are fixing things, they're making things easier to understand, but it can sometimes feel like obvious things aren't in obvious places. And again, that just goes to add to that slightly spicy, slightly steep learning curve, which you are gonna have to overcome. Next up, another one kind of similar, templates, or as I'm gonna call it, fancy stuff. Resolve is kind of a blank slate. It gives you all of the tools you need to create some really, really fancy stuff. Like the color grading stuff, you can do really clever stuff. You know, there's whole films, there's whole movies that are color graded in Davinci Resolve. You've got something called Fusion, which allows you to create visual effects and you create your own presets and titles, but it is really, really complicated to use. So again, there's quite a steep learning curve before you can create really nice titles or transitions or your own title screens or callouts or lower thirds or whatever. And the defaults within Davinci Resolve aren't great, shall we say. Again, if you've jumped into something like CapCut or Filmora, they have some really fancy titles. You can just drag, drop, put them on your timeline, change the words or whatever, and job done. They look really good out the box. Resolve has templates. It has things within an area called the effects library. Some of them are good. A lot of the titles, for example, not great. They kind of look like they came from 10 years ago. So they could do with updating. It's not easy to get really fancy stuff out the box with just Davinci Resolve. However, the community is growing. I create my own little assets. There are loads of other people that create their own assets. I've linked them down below. We try and be as giving as we can, a lot of people. So there's loads of free stuff. The big one that springs to mind is a guy called Patrick, who I've linked down below. He's always making free things, so check him out and also check out his paid stuff. And there are people making these assets available to you. But it is still quite young. It hasn't had time to mature, so there isn't as many presets and templates and fancy stuff out there compared to the likes of Premiere Pro. A company worth mentioning at this point is a company called Motion VFX. They're one of the biggest and they are creating some really cool stuff. So you can jump over there and you can buy plugins which have got titles and zooms and all different effects to create the things that you're trying to create. People like Envato Elements and Motion Array have now started listing Resolve stuff in there as well, which helps, but it is a bit of a Wild West. You never really know what you're going to get. It can be a really nice thing you download from there, or it can be absolute garbage, which is horrendous to use. So again, next one, performance. The performance in Davinci Resolve is really good if you have a capable computer. Now it's available for Windows, it's available for it's available for Mac, it's available for Windows, and it's available for Linux as well. So you have loads of options. There's even an iPad version, so you can actually get started on the iPad if you want to do that. And if you've got good hardware, Davinci Resolve will run really well. The performance is good, it's quick to render, it's generally quite stable, so it won't crash. If you actually go for the paid version, Davinci Resolve Studio, then it becomes even faster still. But if you're on slightly older hardware, let's say you're on an older Windows laptop, or you're on one of the old Intel MacBooks, for example, you might struggle. It's not going to run as quickly as you might like it to. However, that doesn't mean you have to spend an absolute fortune to get good results. If you're looking on the Mac side of things, any of the M1, M2, or M3 Macs will do a pretty good job. While for you Windows users, if you get any sort of gaming laptop or gaming PC with a decent CPU, 16 or 32 gigabytes of RAM, and a dedicated GPU, ideally kind of like a 20 series, 30 series, or 40 series NVIDIA card, then you'll be pretty good to go. And that is kind of the main negatives. You're gonna struggle at least to get to grips with things. There's a hell of a lot to learn, and that can be kind of make you feel bad sometimes, because you're like, why is this so complicated? Why are the buttons hidden and not in, you know, places where blah, 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 blah. It can be a little bit frustrating, but once you get to grips with it, it all does start to make some sense. And again, you will be more frustrated if you're on aged hardware. If you're on a good PC or a Mac or whatever, it will run really, really well. So they're kind of the main negatives. Now, before we get into the pros, before we get into the positives, we need to spend another positive moment just thanking this video's sponsor, Audiio. Audiio is a music subscription service that contains all of the music and sound effects you could ever need. And it's music from real artists that doesn't feel or sound like generic stock music. There's rock, there's pop, there's ambient, country, hip hop, cinematic bangers, and literally anything you could ever need. And now they even have stems. So you can download the full mix, or you can even download individual elements like the drums or the vocals or whatever, which just gives you even more options to find the perfect music for literally any project, because the Audiio Pro license covers you for anything from film, TV, social media, YouTube, of course, video games, podcasts, and even audiobooks. And that Audiio Pro license is available right now with 70% off, giving you access to their full music and sound effects library, plus that link match AI, which makes finding music even easier, for just 59 bucks for your first year. Click the link down in the comments below and use the code ALEX70 at checkout. Right, we've done the negative Nelly stuff. Now let's get on to the positives. And we're going to start off with the first one, the most obvious one, the one everyone talks about, price. It's hard to ignore. Davinci Resolve is free. It is. There's a legit free version of Davinci Resolve, and there aren't any other video editing packages out there that can really hold a candle to it. The free version is legit crazy that it exists, in my opinion, and it doesn't feel like the free version is there just to catch you out. There are no weird, annoying time limits or watermarks that catch you out right at the last moment. There are watermarks, but they're very clear. It's very obvious where they're going to turn up. Now, it does have some relatively small limitations, like you can't edit at higher than Ultra HD. You can't go higher than 60 frames per second. That's your timeline. You can still import 120 frames per second and do some slow-mo. You just can't actually edit and export higher than 60. You can't fully utilize your GPU and all that sort of stuff, but it's free. You can download it right now and just try it. So if you watch those against and you kind of like, ugh, maybe I should give it a go, just give it a go. You have literally nothing to lose. It's free. You just download it. It will take you 5 minutes to download and install. You can try it, and if you don't like it, you can uninstall it and move on to something else. It's a no-brainer. But if you do like it, then you can upgrade to the studio version, which is another big benefit. It's 300 quid or $300. It's the same price, pretty much. And that's a lifetime license. So you buy it once, you can install it on 2 machines, If you then need to install it on another 2 machines, you can just wipe the previous one, so it's like a rolling install. And that is a lifetime license. It includes all the future updates. So we're currently on Davinci Resolve 18. When 19 comes out, you can just download the Studio version and install that, and you're good to go. There are people that have bought Davinci Resolve Studio 10 years ago, and they're still using the same license. And no subscriptions. Winner. The next big benefit, scope. Now this one kind of goes directly against the main negative which I talked about at the beginning, which is of course that learning curve. That learning curve is absolutely there. But the flip side to that, Davinci Resolve just has so much scope. So again, if you just want to cut something really simple together and upload something to Instagram, Resolve might not be the place for you. But if you want to really learn and develop and get into video editing and really learn how to create whatever it is that you like, whether you want to go anamorphic or you want to learn visual effects or you want to learn how to color grade and you want to work with color space transforms and LUT and Vlog and, you know, all the crazy stuff. If you're willing to learn it, it's going to sound super cheesy, the sky really is the limit with Davinci Resolve. You can learn everything, every single part of that entire video editing pipeline. You can learn in the free version of Davinci Resolve. Audio, there's Fairlight in there. You can learn all this crazy stuff about audio in one piece of software. It's bad. Next up, killer features. In Davinci Resolve, you have professional workflows and you have professional tools which allow you to do, well, professional things. There's object removal tools, noise reduction, so you can get noise out of your footage if you've shot at a high ISO. There's great shake reduction. You've got all the color tools in the world that you can ever need. And there's even collaboration tools. So again, if you learn to edit and then you realize this is something you really want to do and you want to form a team of people to do it, Resolve allows you to do all of that. And they've also got some really cool AI features. So all of these are only available in the Studio version, but they're worth mentioning because you get things like auto subtitles and auto transcriptions and speed warping and magic masks, and there's loads of cool stuff. If you don't know what any of those are, have a search on YouTube. Loads of videos, loads of great videos describing how they all work. And the next thing I just want to mention, the community. As mentioned earlier on, the community is relatively small compared to a lot. There's not as many templates out there and all that sort of thing. But the community that exists in Davinci Resolve, it's really, really awesome. Everyone I've ever met that's in this Resolve world, all of the forums, all of the other YouTube and stuff, generally, they're all really cool and everyone's super willing to help. I think it's because Resolve, at least historically, was kind of the underdog. It doesn't feel like that anymore, but it was always the underdog. So everyone really worked together to try and help it grow and to try and give a bit of input and help people out. So it does feel like it's got a really, really nice community behind it. And hopefully, if you decide to jump over to this community and edit in Davinci Resolve, we can continue growing it. So then there's going to be even more awesome people and even more awesome stuff to come. So is Davinci Resolve great for beginners? You tell me. Let me know down in the comment section below. My opinion, it really depends how much you want to get involved in the process. If you don't need much, you just want to throw some cool stuff together, Resolve might not be for you because there are simpler, not cheaper because Resolve is free, but there are simpler video editing suites out there which allow you to do much more with less effort in terms of fanciness, that fancy stuff I mentioned. But if you really want to learn how to edit and you want to learn how to color grade and work with audio and maybe do some visual effects, and you want to do that all for free, I don't think there's a better place to start than Davinci Resolve. But I'm just an idiot on the internet. That's just my opinion. If you agree or disagree, let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. See ya.